Hey, what's going on, folks? So, I got a question from one of my subscribers, and it's actually something that I've been researching for some time. He asked me, what is my opinion about traditional martial arts, and how do they compare against, mixed martial arts and what we practice today in the UFC? This is kind of a tricky question because there is no such, there is no martial art that really encompasses every traditional martial art out there. So you can't really compare the two. Um, for instance, in China alone, we have well over 50 forms of Kung Fu. And we're not even going into Thailand, Cambodia, Japan, Korea. No, I'm just talking about China. And within those forms, there are different focuses. Some martial arts focus on ground fighting, like Chin Na. It's a traditional form of ground fighting and grappling. Some martial arts focus on kicking. Some martial arts focus on the punching range. Some martial arts kind of combine everything. And then, every different martial art has completely different curriculums and concepts. When talking about traditional martial arts, you got to understand that the history behind them is different from mixed martial arts. These martial arts that we have today, like karate and judo and kung fu, are really watered down versions of what they used to be back in the day. A good example is Muay Thai. Muay Thai, as it is today, is nothing compared to what they used to use back in the days of the emperor. It was called Muay Boran, for starters, and there were different forms of Muay Thai for each region. And it wasn't a martial art designed just for sports competition, it was designed for warfare. So certain illegal strikes used to be allowed back then. And the stances were different. The way they moved was different. The training was different. But over the years, they had to water down the martial art in order to sell it to the Western audiences and make a sport out of it. So a lot of martial arts that we have today are not the same as what they used to be. Karate too used to be a lot different back in the day than what it is today. So you have to take that into consideration before comparing them to mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts have been around for years, mixed martial artists. And that style of fighting, it's not really a style, it's just a concept. Basically, with the rise of the Gracies in the first years of the UFC, people realized that there's no way you can fight based only on two stances, on punching and kicking. You have to be more flexible. Royce Gracie was able to beat a lot of guys that were much bigger than him simply by putting them on the ground and submitting them. So people realized that the only way you can win against guys like that is by being a completely well-rounded fighter. And that's how people decided to mix jiu-jitsu or Brazilian jiu-jitsu or whatever with standing martial arts like taekwondo, boxing, Muay Thai, and whatnot. And that's pretty much how MMA as we know it came to be. Bruce Lee actually, years ago in the 70s and 60s, already kind of mentioned the idea that we should not focus solely on one style of fighting or rigid training patterns or one single range of fighting. We have to focus on different ranges, depending on our body type, depending on whatever advantages we have. So, having brought that up, going back to what you asked me earlier, how do traditional martial arts compare against modern mixed martial arts? Well, most people will tell you that MMA is better. And I tend to agree with them because MMA provides you with the training and preparation for all kinds of fighting. In a fight, you don't know where you're going to end up. You might end up on the ground, you might end up on the floor, punched on the floor, you might end up kicked. You don't know. So a good fighter has to be prepared for every possibility. And in martial arts, Bruce Lee mentioned something called the four ranges of fighting. the punching range, the kicking range, the grappling range, and the trapping range. What that means is basically, if my opponent is standing right here, close to me, I may not be able to kick him because he's way too close, but I can punch him. That's punching range. If he's standing a little bit further and punching might not be the best option, I can kick him. That's the kicking range. If you guys are on the floor, that's grappling range. And if you guys are somewhat close, but not quite, like you cannot really punch him, and you don't know how to take him down, that's a trapping range. You cannot you grab him in one way or the other. A fighter has to be able to perform in every range effectively, depending on your situation. That being said, MMA prepares you for that because the very basis of MMA is pretty much be prepared for every range. An MMA fighter will usually train in either boxing or Muay Thai, almost always American wrestling or Greco-Roman wrestling or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that's about it. He has something for every situation. Whereas the problem with traditional martial arts is, for instance, some traditional martial arts put too much emphasis on one range while disregarding another. Also, the training regimens for traditional martial arts are not realistic. A guy doesn't have time or the desire to dedicate to a martial art where he has to stand in horse stance for years just to learn one stance. It's not realistic. You have to be prepared for everything. And the only way you can be truly prepared is by practicing constantly and sparring with a live opposing partner. Now, not every traditional martial art is like that. I can say Muay Thai is very effective. I can say some forms of Kung Fu are extremely effective. Even Taekwondo, believe it or not, if practiced well enough, can be a very effective martial art. But in order for you to be well-rounded, it's very important that you practice some form of solid ground fighting. Even because fighting on the ground neutralizes a lot of obstacles for you. If you're fighting a bigger opponent and you can't run, if you get him on the ground, his size won't be as much of a factor. Yeah, he may be able to get on top of you, but if he doesn't know how to move on the ground, you will beat him no matter what. Royce Gracie proved it. Just watch UFC 1 and UFC 2. And if you're fighting a guy that is the same size as you, you'll be more prepared because you'll be more comfortable. Most guys get careless when fighting. But a guy that has practiced like the basics of all fighting ranges will be more prepared. So yeah, I would have to say that MMA as of right now offers a better basis for any martial artist that wants to get serious in the sport or even in real life. But that's not to say that traditional martial arts are not good. You just have to be very discerning in the martial arts that you decide to pick, and you have to be very selective. And you also have to look at the way they train. If you see that they train like in a rehearsed kind of way where they show you, oh, punch me like this, and then they show you a super flashy move, then you know that's nonsense. Because in real life, a fighter is not going to come at you like this or wait for you to actually do your move. You know, you have to make sure that whatever they're doing, there's a live and opposing partner that is fighting with them. And you pretty much have the option to decide how you want to pick the martial art you want. You can decide whatever you want and whatever you're comfortable with. Just make sure that what you're seeing is realistic and not just some flashy stuff that they're trying to sell to you. But I'll make more videos on the subject later, guys.